Conscious Spirit Media. Good morning, everyone. This is Benjamin. Today I'm in Manchester, in California, with Laveena, and we're going to talk about the human design. So this interview is for the Conscious Spirit Media. I hope you're going to enjoy, and be ready, guys. Open your ears, sit comfortable, because it's going to be really amazing. Hello, Laveena. How are you today?
I'm great, Nathan. Nathan.
It's fine.
I'm great, Ben. How are you?
Yes, super good, super good. Awesome. So, Laveena, she's living here in Manchester, California. She's a human design analyst, a teacher, and a retreat leader as well. How long have you been practicing human design or teaching human design, actually?
Teaching human design, it's been 3 years now.
Okay.
I've been in human design for 5.
Okay, so can you tell us a little bit more about your story and your background? Like, what was the shift for you? Because obviously you're not from this part, like human design. Your background is pretty interesting, and you had kind of a awakening consciousness, like a shift. Something happened and you changed your life.
Yeah, well, you know, we're all on a journey of evolution and growth, and my beginning in studying esoterics and studying the mysteries of life began when I was young. My mother had a lot of books around, Edgar Cayce and Jane Roberts, Seth, Speaks, and things that are not necessarily of the homogenized nature of what reality is about. So I got my mind open to that a long time ago, and I've always been interested in wanting to understand the mysteries. It's part of what I'm here to learn. And I got conditioned into believing to be part of the homogenized world of going to school and getting a job and becoming a professional. So I had a lot of different experiences in my life. As a third line profile, I'm somebody who's very much about getting into things and getting out of them, seeing if it works. Doesn't work, let's leave it. So what happened was I got into a lot of different types of jobs, and the career I ended up sticking with for a while was being a real estate broker and being this professional. And then the real estate market tanked.
Wow.
And I had a really huge shattering in that the brokerage that my husband and I started, it failed. We had multiple properties, they went, and we ended up pretty much destitute. I was at this place where I was ready to kill myself. I could see myself continually throwing myself off of the 16th floor of our high-story apartment and complex where
completely
we lived.
Different than the life you live in today, right?
Where I am now. I was completely disillusioned with life. I was depressed, suicidal. I checked myself into a place to be able to get a help with that. And I got to this place of needing to be that person that either I was going to give it all up or I was going to change and evolve.
Wow.
And part of my process was, okay, now I need to take care of myself. Rather than having a partner who I did everything with, now I need to do it all myself. And that was also not necessarily right for me. Now I know that I'm here to work with others, to be able to integrate everything and partner. And at that point, it became this dark night of the soul where I spiraled even further downward, if you can believe it, into a completely unconscious space where I was completely delusional about what life was. And then at some point in 2012, things shifted. I was initiated into a new way of looking at myself by a shaman. We did a substance.
Interesting.
We did a substance where he breathed some life into me, and he said, "Have you heard of human design?" And I said, "No, what is that?" And he said, "Well, you must be a generator. You can see that you work really hard, and And then when he ran my chart after my experience of this shamanic journey with him, he said, "Oh, you're a projector. You really need to know this." So that was the beginning of my invitation into the human design system, and it has radically changed my life.
Wow. So it was in 2012, right?
2012.
So 5 years from now.
Summer of 2012.
Wow, that's amazing. So what is it, the human design?
So human design is a synthesis of a lot of different esoteric observational sciences as well as modern sciences like biology, genetics, It takes a look at the whole of what a person is based on the science of one tiny little particle, and that's called the neutrino. So basically, we're all being bombarded by neutrinos, and those neutrinos are passing through all kinds of matter, and that matter actually gets imprinted onto the neutrino passes it on to whatever it comes into contact with. So based on that, combining different, you can see in this chart behind me, we have the I Ching, we have the astrology, we have the Hindu Brahmin chakra system, which you can't see in this particular chart, but if you look at
see here.
the human design body graph, we have a lot of different ways of seeing the imprint of the moment of your birth combined with your body's imprint. And together there's a synthesis of being able to analyze a chart and see what this person is here for, how they're here to play out their role, how they're here to make decisions that they trust, and then also how they can get distracted and off their path into far left field. And it's really fascinating
isn't it?
Science and study. So it's something that you could study for the rest. I know that I'm going to be studying it for the rest of my life, and it's nothing that I've definitely not mastered. I'm just at that point where I can begin to teach people up to the level of getting them to wherever they want to be in platforming off into being a professional. So I teach the foundations in human design.
Wow. That's really, really interesting. So how does it work exactly? So how we can find a chart or what the human design, because that's a system, right? What's the system it based on? Is that correct?
What is the system based on?
Based on, yeah. Is it like astrology or because we have some chakras center? So can you share a little bit more?
It's not astrology.
Okay.
Astrology deals with houses. It deals with that's in and of itself is a beautiful system that's for it has its place. Human design has so much more in that it's integrating a lot of different systems into a cohesive whole. So it's not this one piece or another piece. It's a synthesis. It's actually transmitted knowledge that was put into a manifester. This being that was actually here to be the clarion of this system into the world to help people differentiate as themselves now in this critical moment of time before we have this shift into 2027 is the year when we have this complete shift over into a new frequency of being. We're all being programmed at this time that it has to do with just the energetics of the time and space that we're moving through. And everybody's talking about it. Everybody's like, oh yes, we're shifting. It's a big change. A big change is coming. We're in the change now. And our ability to awaken to the totality of being part of the whole comes down to, in our forms, being an individual. The individual that has the power to, through knowing themselves, differentiate into the fullest expression of their being. That's what human design is for. Human design is here to show you where your potential gifts are, where your pitfalls are, to help you understand not to go to those shadow places. It's still part of you. You can learn from the shadows. You embody the gifts if you align to the authentic way that you're designed to move about in space. And what tends to happen is most people are living this sleep-wake life where they're completely engrossed in what they think is them, which is actually what they're amplifying from the outside world. What they're taking in and distorting through what we call in human design
not self. So is it the not self what we call it in human design?
Yeah, it simply means that it's not what's colored in the graph. That's not you. That's where you're receptive to taking in life from the outside world.
But why people live so much into this not self?
Why? Because it's fascinating. The mind is interested in what it's not. There's a genetic difference between me and you. And what we are at our base level is an organism that needs to procreate or create, wants to find difference in order to grow. Because in difference we can learn from each other and we can have new experiences. And so your mind is thinking, processing, observing, fantasizing, really fascinated with. Anything that is not quote unquote you in the chart. So when you get your human design chart and you see all those colored in places, that's what you have a genetic predisposition to expressing in this life. It's what you're broadcasting.
This is what we can trust.
What you can trust, because it's always you.
And it will be always like this? Because some people sometimes ask me, but does it will be like this my whole life? Does the chart gonna change, or it's like this the whole life? So
really great question.
Yeah.
So when you're born, we see these two imprintings. We have the time of birth, and then 88 degrees before the time of birth, there's your body imprinting. So now that doesn't change. However, when you're born, you have this ability to evolve, right? You're not your baby, so obviously you're not going to be the fullest expression of you as you will be when you're 50. Because when you're 50, in this kind of form, the nine-centered being, we're not seven-centered chakra beings anymore, we're nine-centered.
yes, true.
That mutation happened in 1781. This differentiated form that we are, a human, a Homo sapien in transitus. In transitus. This being right here has the potential to evolve. So every one of your gate and line activations, your channels, your centers, they all have this experience of being able to express their fullest potential, their nature. And that nature is nurtured by the openness in the chart. So that's where the mind is like, oh yeah, I want to learn here, I want to grow. That the pitfall is when you try to make decisions from the openness, thinking that that's consistent, thinking that that's you. And that's where we get adaptive strategies of people thinking, oh, this is what I need to do. This is me, and it's not you. It's just your mind associating with what's not you and identifying it, and then misaligning because there's amplification and there's distortion, there's fantasy. It's all shadow out there in the world of mind. Maya, illusion, that's not you. So what human design gives us is a way to be able to authentically connect with, realign with the energetics that make us us. And that is what puts us on a path of evolution that gets us to our fullest potential. So now, every moment that we're alive, that we're all moving in space. Everything's moving, everything's vibrating.
Totally.
All of the neutrinos that are hitting you right now, they're never the same. There's always a different program that they've got.
We are constantly in evolution, right?
Absolutely.
We change all the time.
Yes.
We're not the same person we were this morning, right? But what I understand, what you're sharing is we have a very specific, so like a mechanic in the body, and that mechanic will be the same for the whole life, right? It will be the same things.
As far as accessing the energetics that are unique to you, yes. We give, in human design, we make it so simple and accessible for anybody. Even a child can learn this.
Really?
Where
So does that mean pretty everyone can use the human design and just like live with the human design, right?
Well, what we ask people to do is to experiment and see for themselves. So it's not going to be appropriate to everyone. Some people, it may not, quote unquote, work for them. But for people who are drawn to it, for people who this resonates to, when they embrace their experiment and they align to the experience of having a reduced level of resistance in life, so the reduced anger, bitterness, frustration, disappointment, when they reduce the suffering through aligning to what's correct for them, then they get to see what life can truly be. They're not seeing with eyes that are clouded by the openness and the conditioning in the design. They're able to wash away all of that and repurpose themselves back into what's in the highest and best for the good of all, because I know I'm not part or separate from the totality. I'm one with the totality. And this is how we fit in. If you look at your human design chart, it's like a puzzle. You can see it's like a puzzle piece.
Totally.
So
it's
we
fascinating.
have this ability to union with each other in ways that are correct if we follow the way that we're designed to make decisions. And that is what we call in human design strategy and authority.
Yeah, totally. So basically what you're saying, what you're sharing is that to make sure we understand, the human design, it could be for the people who want to start living with integrity and authenticity, right? So it's like stop living the life of someone else, stop living the value in the value of someone else, right? It starts to really live with authenticity and integrity, but it takes courage, actually.
It does. To let go of everything you thought you believed was true about yourself. Everything that you've been trying to trust about yourself for your entire life, you cannot trust. And the thing that you can trust, you haven't trusted in your life. If you're coming to human design and you haven't been aligned authentically, then there's going to be a massive shift. We call it a shattering. So the first step is to learn how to live your design.
Yeah. It's fascinating how many times I saw a projector actually who were living the life of the generator.
Yeah.
And when we start giving the reading, they are like, no, I mean, I have energy. I'm not like a non-energetic type. I have energy. I don't understand. And so do you think,
Well, in comment to that, there's this thing that we have in design where Ra, who's a manifestor who formulated and brought this system out from the information he was given, he actually used language in very specific ways. And in design, there's some, in the homogenized world, you might not necessarily understand how we use terms. So what you can find is people out there who just learn a little smattering of design, and then they start spouting it off to other people,
and
then other people get confused because they don't know what you're talking about. Particularly, it's a good idea if you are, like you as a generator, it's a really good idea for you to align to other generators. They can come to you and you can really express what it means to follow your strategy of waiting and responding and what that feels like. In fact, the energetics of being connected up with you, a generator who is responding, is so much more powerful than even I, as a projector who can guide an energy type, telling it to someone else. When you're with somebody who is your type, who's on your fractal, who's your frequency, and they're getting you, like you can feel it. It's like part of this way that we affect each other. And it doesn't even, for your design, it doesn't even have to be anything that you express. It's just who you be. And that's what's true for you. So your question was, as an example, what do you mean I'm not a non-energy type? I'm an energy projector. That's very different than somebody like our friend Nathan in the other room who has the mental projector ability to, conceptualize and articulate. My type of being is very, very different. So even though in design we have, 4 different types, each of those 4 different types has a vast differentiation depending on their profile, the costume that they wear, the way they see the world, depending on their incarnation cross, the evolution of their purpose, depending upon their definition in the chart, which channels, which centers, which gates, which lines. It's all, we're here to be very, very different. And so the reason why we have strategy and authority is because Ra did a whole lot of readings, hundreds of readings, and people weren't getting it. They didn't know what to do with the information.
So at the beginning, when he channeled information,
it wasn't channeling.
Okay.
Just a little, because he hated the
So
term
how the knowledge came on earth?
It got downloaded into him.
So Ra is the one who get the knowledge, right?
Yes.
And it was 1987, right?
Yes.
In Ibiza.
Uh-huh.
And it was Ra.
Uh-huh.
And he's Canadian. He was Canadian because he passed away. And what else? So it downloaded the information.
So the information happened coincidental to the explosion of a star.
The supernova, right?
1987A.
Beginning of the year.
And so what happened was that supernova exploded. It seeded all of us with this information, and a voice came from within the earth and spoke into Ra. Now, the reason why he said the voice and spoke is because Ra's design was very much acoustic. It was about this inner hearing. And his design was about initiating people into universal love of self, perfecting the form, channel of awakening, being able to transmit and synthesize and structure and put this system out into the world. The reason why the voice picked him is because he was perfectly designed for it.
Right.
And each of us are perfectly designed for something. And what tends to happen is, in our homogenized society, people have these dreams or fantasies and thinking that I want that. When the I consciousness that you think you are is only a third of who you really are, because that's your personality consciousness, the eternal soul, has an imprint. This body has another imprint. It sits inside the middle of the forehead. It's the Ajna crystal we see here. It's the design crystal, the second center down, the green one up there. And those two is a third of you, and then you are a quantum. So that quantum is what we access through the strategy and authority, and it aligns you to what's right for you, to what you're naturally living it. And then you can let go of strategy and authority because you now are who you are. You supersede or you transcend all rules because you are living authentically as you. And you have this differentiation that is, you cannot it's not exactly the same for you, Ben, to respond as it is for any other generator. Any other. Your response is unique to you.
That's really interesting.
Yeah. So
thanks for sharing all these things. Yeah. So basically, what you say. So in the human design, you say we have 4 types, right? You talk about the strategy and authority, and you were just talking about personality and the design, right? So the personality is more who we think you are,
conscious,
right?
What you're consciously aware of, the voice that's talking inside of your head.
Okay, and the design is more like the blueprints of the body?
The design is the genetic imprinting, what is unconscious within you that you're actually broadcasting as well, that other people can see, and yet your personality consciousness generally has no idea that that's happening unless enough people have been telling you over and over and over again, hey, did you know that you're a hermit? Your unconscious body is like, I kind of want to stay to myself, you know, and your mind is not necessarily knowing that.
And the human design is the system who can bring to you this awareness with the design and the personality, right?
The juxtaposition of the two halves of you.
That's amazing. Actually, I discovered the human design 5 years ago with a shaman as well, and it completely changed my life. And I really recommend you guys to first maybe check her YouTube channel, because she's really amazing. This is how I discovered her on YouTube. She explained a lot of things that's really fascinating. If you can have a reading from someone or just contact Laveena, she will be, I think, really happy to give you a reading because it's so awesome. What else? I wanted to know, people, so today some people could be a bit skeptical about the human design, and I know the huge community of the scientific people, they really start to approve the human design. They really it's like, wow, it works, it's accurate.
We have psychologists, we have doctors, we have healthcare practitioners, we have all kinds of psychotherapists. I actually have a doctor coming to me for a relationship reading next month.
Wow.
Where they're starting to see the genetic correlations. You cannot argue.
Yeah, because there is with the center, right? So the center we can see here, there's a correlation with the organ in the body, right? And we can see, like, when people have some disease, we can actually find why they have the disease, right?
We can source from the energetics that we see in the chart and align to seeing the genetic correlation with what the person is expressing as dis-ease or disease, right? So it is a very helpful tool. It is something that is not going to be, again, for everybody. It's just take it and see, experiment with it and see if it works for you. It may be something that is not right for you at this time. It may be something that you've been waiting for your whole life. And a lot of people who come to design are that way. They go, I see this image, and they get chills, they get this shock of recognition. They go, there's something here for me. And that's very similar to a lot of people I know in design, where it's just like, wow, this is it. This is the system that takes in all the other systems I've been studying my whole life, the astrology, the I Ching, the Brahman chakra system, the Judaic Kabbalah, and it brings it all together and merges it with science, with genetics, with being able to look at the biology of the body, and it's so fascinating. It's so deep.
And in an energetic way as well.
Exactly.
It's only about energy, right?
And I've been studying like mad for 5 years. We're just like constantly listening to everything I could buy on Jovian Archive, every course that I could manage to fit in, and I still feel like I'm scratching the surface, even though I can teach the foundations.
Wow.
There's so much more to learn. We have the business aspect, which I did become a BG5, it's called, a certified consultant, to be able to help people with their career and business too, because I saw how powerful this was, and it's helped my own business tremendously.
Wow.
So that's another avenue. But right now,
and it helps as well relationship, right? And family.
And
like
family.
The mother and the kids. If the mother is an emotional person, the kid's not emotional. It gives so much information, right?
To be able to see the dynamics of why we have tensions within family and communities.
Yeah, totally.
And it can help everyone.
Yeah, in human design, we're talking about. Most of the time I have this question because we're talking about emotional being and non-emotional being, and sometimes when I share with my friends or family and I say, oh, you are a non-emotional, in the human design, people say, what? I'm super emotional. Oh,
exactly.
It wrongs. Your stuff doesn't work,
Here,
so what does it mean?
Yeah, I can help you with that. It's a common occurrence. In fact, most of the people who are highly, highly, highly conditioned with an undefined solar plexus center, which is the center for emotional intelligence. That's its function, which is a developing spirit consciousness. It's an awareness center that's still under this mutative process. What's happening right now because of the mutation is it's got a dominant motor function right now. And in 2027, we're going to have beings born without that motor function of emotional volatility. And they're going to be pure spirit consciousness, pure spirit awareness, where they're operating as one, as a unit, in a group of 3 to 5 of these kinds of beings. They're not human, they're an evolution. So that's what's coming. Now what's happening right now, because of this mutation, is that we're all walking around, 50% of the population, I'm one of them, are walking around with this developing spirit consciousness that's dominated by this motor function that's all over the map. It's totally chaotic, it's totally confusing, it's irrational. It's hot, it's passion, it's need, it's drive, it's desire, right? It's juicy life force energy, and it is all over the map. And when you're not aware, you can believe the stories that your mind is telling you about why your chemistry is that way, and you make it even further chaotic. And now let's get into this chaotic being comes into contact with my beautiful friend Ben, who has a completely, an open center. And now you have you as a non-emotional being amplifying. It's like when you plug in a guitar into an amplifier and you turn up the volume really loud and there's distortion. That's what your system, anybody who's non-emotional, is doing with this energy, and then they're more emotional than the emotional being.
Totally.
And that's why they identify, what are you talking about? I have lots of, and they're really, they can be very chaotic.
Because actually like from my own experience, I have no idea how to deal with this wave, and I think so. This is what we call the NotSelf Thing, right? So I was constantly avoiding the consultation, the truth. I was avoiding. I was like, oh my god, I don't want to figure it out. I don't want to struggle. I was like, I'm afraid to speak my truth, because what's gonna happen if I start speaking to the person and I don't know how to deal the emotion? I don't know how.
Explode, and then you feel their pain. You amplify their pain. You're feeling it in your own body. And this is another example of how we are not separate. We are a solar cell. We are one organism. And we have this illusion of being separate in this lifetime because of the magnetic monopole that holds us together in this illusion. Because of us seeming to have a separate physical body, we think that we're separate. Because the ajna, the conceptualization process in the mind, thinks that it is in control of this body and this life movement, this movie. It senses that it can control the life, and in actuality, it really can't. We have a certain level of very specific, highly specialized type of being that each of us are here to be. And when we're not living that, when we're following what our mind thinks, we get taken off track, and then we start to live a life of pain and suffering, identifying with all of that. So this system can help people who are ready to wake up and not be lost in the confusion and suffering and pain anymore, because they can see now clearly who they are, who they're not here to be, to make decisions from, but in the openness is where we learn to be nurtured by life and grow to be wise.
Wow. So what would be your advice, like to someone who is watching this interview, start to discover the human design? What would be your advice in terms of maybe just start with a reading, and then for a projector, for a generator, or for manifestor, reflector? What would be just your advice,
It's going to be different for each type, because each type learns in a different way, and each type is going to source into this in a different way. So for you, as an example, as a generator, 70% of the population are like you. And so what you're really here to do is know yourself, know thyself. So it can be very helpful to start with a reading. You can start with a reading, or you can dive into, if you've done self-study, or somebody, a friend gave you a reading, you're like, okay, well, I want to study, how does this really work? You take the Living Your Design course, which is the first step. It's a way of going into each of the centers, center by center, to see how it operates in a healthy way and how it operates in an unhealthy way, so that you can look at your own design. Okay, where am I at? Am I vibrating? Am I resonating? Am I operating in alignment, or am I operating off alignment? And getting into each of the types and how to source into your authority. So we go over your strategies and your authorities for each of the types. For the generator, it's knowing yourself. So a reading and or a living your design course. You can do either one of those.
Okay.
That's what you do
And
for you.
For you, yeah. And for each type, the most important things it will be to understand the authority and the strategy. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the first step, because that is the simple, basic keys that Ra gave us in order for us to just start right away. You don't have to understand anything about your design as far as the different nuances, the lines and the colors and the tones and the bases.
Just with the strategy and authority, if we start experiment this, something change. We feel it.
Something will change in that you get to see having less resistance, and you get to see having more and more peace, satisfaction,
life is flowing, right?
Surprise! You're in the flow of your life moving, and your perspective begins to change, and that's how you change your fate. Your perspective begins to change, and your experience of life isn't the same.
Wow!
It will never be the same once you really integrate this into your life.
Can we say? The more we're gonna experiment the human design, the more it will bring like self-love, self-compassion, self-acceptance. Because I have a lot of people, they reject themselves. They're not happy with a part of themselves, and especially emotional being. I have one of my best friends, my business partner, actually. Like we have this YouTube channel together. He's an emotional, and I remember it was like, but I don't like when I feel bad and what this wave is going down, and so people are this tendency to reject themselves. So
absolutely, it's one of the hardest things in the world to love yourself.
Does the human design can bring this self-love, self-acceptance?
One of the reasons why it can do that is because it shows you that everything you identified with as yourself is not really you. Because most of the time, people hate themselves for the not-self behavior that they have. Another reason is they hate themselves for the unconscious imprinting, the design, the body imprinting. They don't understand it because they don't identify with it. So they think there's something wrong or bad. And oftentimes when they grow up, people tell them, oh, you're so different. Why are you like that? And they tell other well-meaning adults, like, okay, you need to not be so much of a hermit, Ben. Why can't you just speak up more? Why can't you use words? Why do you have to just or You have this natural response. And your childhood, people were trying to make you hurry up and speak, articulate for us, right?
My parents was like, hey Benji, do you want to have an ice cream? Oh, stop making this noise, it's not polite. Just say yes or no. And I was like so scared after to just listen this generator. So wow.
Yeah, and so for those of you who don't know, Ben is a generator, pure generator that does not have the throat center. You can see there at the throat of the body graph defined, colored in, and so he has this authority that speaks in the sounds, these beautiful sounds that are not articulation of yes and no, mommy, please, thank you. It's just a response. It's a beautiful response, and it gives him alignment to his truth every moment, in the moment, all the time. Existential being, purely in the now. You follow that, you're aligned with your path and purpose.
It's true.
As simple as that for you.
Yeah, it's actually, completely.
You don't have to initiate any course of action from mind. You can just let life come to you. You know you're part of the totality. You know you're embraced and loved by Mother Earth, and that life will bring you everything that you need.
And I really feel I fulfill myself with the satisfaction. There's not any more resistance in life. It's really flowing.
It's following the response of your sacral center, the generator motor, that shows you what you have energy for. And it's a beautiful, you're one of really God's little children, like really blessed being, because for you it's very simple. As long as you follow that, you're good.
It's true.
You're good. It's all good. For those like me, a projector type, it's going to take a lot longer, particularly if you're any kind of split definition, or if you're emotional, and you can find out that for yourself if you go and looking for your human design chart, you'll be able to find that. But it can take a lot more study of other people for us to understand ourselves. So for you, it's a generator, all generators, study yourself. Projectors, study the other. Learn a system, master it, and observe. And that in that way, as a projector, I get to see myself reflected back at me from the others that I work with. So that's the two examples of what's the recommendations.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Wow. Thank you so much for sharing all this information. It's gold. I want to end with like two things. I remember one moment you made this metaphor about the mind, like the passenger, you know, the vehicle, the driver. So can you explain a little bit more so we can have like a view about exactly what you mean with personality, mind, passenger? Or,
yes.
Yeah?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm really glad that you brought that up because it's one of the analogies that Ra would use.
Yeah, and
if you
it gave me a lot of understanding actually. I was like, oh, okay, makes sense. Because sometimes we can be so easy confused. Yeah.
Yeah, mind is like, well, should I do this or should I do that? And that's what we need to let go of. So remember when we said that you have a third of you that is conscious.
So in black,
In black,
right? When we had a look of the human chart.
Stuff on black on the right hand side, that's your conscious personality imprinting. That's the moment, a representation of the moment that you were born. So this is designed to be the passenger in a vehicle where someone else is driving in this movie, in this life. So the body is the life. The body is the vehicle with which you as a personality experience your life movie. Now, the pitfall is, and this is the key to waking up, is recognizing that you are not in control, that you are actually designed to be a witness, a passenger in this movie. That the body itself knows it's going in a direction in life. And if you try to interfere with that direction, you try to change it because you think you want something else, that's when you come into contact with suffering.
Totally.
That's when you get frustrated, you get angry, you get bitter, you get disappointed because you're attempting to pull your vehicle off track. Now you can't really necessarily...
And we crashed the car. We crashed the vehicle.
You can't crash the vehicle.
Okay.
You know, it's all perfect and beautiful exactly as it is because you're not in charge. You have a driver. And that driver, we call it the magnetic monopole. It sits on the sternum. It's at gate 2. If you know your hexagrams from 1 through 64 hexagrams, it's gate hexagram 2. That is the receptive. That is the driver of this vehicle that you're living in, that you're moving through life in, and it knows where to go. It's pulling you along the path of your trajectory in space, no matter what. Now, the way with which you experience life changes when you're aligned with just being the passenger rather than trying to control from the back seat. So if you're aligned to strategy and authority, you begin to release your mind's hold on what you think your life should be, and then you can sit back and watch as life really does take care of you. Life takes care of you. You get what you need, and it's all okay.
It's hard, no?
It can be.
I start to be quite in this state of consciousness today, but I remember it was really hard. I mean, it's tough.
It's not easy.
I was freaking out all the time. I was really afraid.
So that's the mind. The mind is afraid because it thinks it needs to control the life, and so it tries to control you. And we can see how it controls you through the undefined areas of your body graph. They have specific, we call them keynotes or thematics of how they show up when they're trying to control your life through your mind. So the biggest key here is to remember, and this is probably the thing that I repeat most often in my classes, is to remember you cannot believe the voice inside your head about yourself. Because it is a liar. It wants to control your life. It thinks it needs to be in control. And in fact, it's only a third of who you really are. What you really are is a totality, a quantum of energies that is connected to everything at large. And you can trust that. You can trust that through the energetics by sourcing into your strategy and authority. Do experiment with it and see how it works for you. But it changes your life, changes your physical frequency, it changes the way that you see and you interact with others. It changes your chemistry, your perspective. It's
life-changing, everything.
I can't tell you.
She said with so much energy. That's awesome.
I'm sitting next to an energy, so I can feel this like, yes! Let's prevent
totally. Wow.
Cross of prevention.
Let's prevent people
from having all those problems and pain and suffering. Prevent them from hating themselves. Right? And
I was hating myself so much.
Yes.
It was awful. I mean,
I hated myself. I loathed the sound of my voice. There was always something wrong with my body. I was embarrassed and disappointed about who I was. I hid from my family. I broke off all contact with my friends. I was living very isolated. I was feeling very ashamed and bitter and just frustrated. And now my life is completely different.
Awesome.
Completely different. I could go on and on how amazing my life is comparatively to the life that I was living before. You would not recognize me.
Wow.
You would not recognize me from who I was to who I am now.
Wow.
that dramatic.
That's really, really inspiring. I don't know for you guys, but for me, it's really inspiring. So, wow.
That's my design.
Yeah.
My design to inspire.
Yeah. Wow. So you pretty answered the second question I had in my mind. So it was what's like the life purpose of the human beings, or how the human design can influence or help us to understand the life purpose. But with all the information you share, I think we can say maybe just the life purpose of human beings is to completely surround yourself and allow yourself to be an expansion of the universe, to let the universe, an expression, absolutely. To let the universe work through you
in your unique, perfect way. Yeah.
So as a passenger, just simply chill and relax.
Yes.
Right?
Yes, and that is very hard to do.
Yeah.
You cannot just say, "Hey, chill out." You ever seen that YouTube video where the guy's like, this woman comes to him, right? And it's a skit, it's a comedy. And this woman comes, I'm having issues, and please help me. And he listens to all these issues, and he says, well, stop it. Just stop it. You can't tell the mind to just stop it.
Yeah.
You have to experiment and realign over a period of time, because the cells in the body have a memory, and it takes time to renew all those cells and to inform that, hey, wake up. We're doing this in a different way now. We're doing this in a different way, and every new cell that comes in gets informed of that, and over time you have a different frequency, you have a different body, and every 7 years you have a renewed cellular body. So the experiment of doing this, aligning to strategy and authority, can take some time. And the more and more time that you commit to yourself and you stick with it, you embrace yourself wholeheartedly, and you align to your path and purpose, the stronger and stronger your vibrational frequency gets to be, until you are so clear in your purpose.
Wow.
Nothing can pull you away from that.
True.
You have no choice at that point. You begin to embrace the expression of your fullest potential and gifts, and your life purpose lives you. So, hi, I'm a 3-5, that's my profile, I'm a martyr heretic. I'm here to discover what doesn't work not to love yourself, doesn't work to try and live everything else that you're not. It does work to embrace who you are and to align to what you're really here for. And high 5 line, 5th line, I'm a heretic, I'm here to be a messenger, and my purpose, my cross, like yours is prevention, mine is contagion. Mine is adapting through life's experiences, learning from experience, discovery, growth, trial and error, all of this, what does really work, and then expressing what does and doesn't work to others, contagiating them with my mind's process of my experience. And so each of us has our own unique expression of this potential. And you asked about the life purpose, it's in your incarnation cross.
So we can find this detail as well in the human design, right?
You can look it up, it's free. Absolutely free. Most human design specialists will offer this as a service. The major people who created this platform, this system, will give you your chart for free, and you can find it. You can Google it. You can find all kinds of information. It took you years to go through all the free information. But if you need a guide, I do that. You do that.
Thank you. Yeah. So actually, how people can contact you? So today, you're teaching 3 courses, right? So which is the foundation, the living your design, which is I did it with you, and it was amazing. I really recommend to you guys. I did as well with you the ABCs and the rave cartography, right? You offering human design reading, so reading to people.
I do readings from the personal level, from your individual analysis, your partnership analysis, child development analysis, your life cycle, so solar return, Saturn return, Uranus opposition, Chiron, your ability to look at the fullest expression of your gifts in the business world. I also do some coaching, individual coaching for clients who are using human design with their clients.
Wow.
So that's a lot of fun too, being able to mentor other people. If you need help with a chart, you don't know really how to advise them. I love doing that kind of stuff too.
Wow, awesome.
So,
awesome. And from this year, you start leading retreats.
Because of you. Thank you very much for the invitation.
My pleasure. So we're gonna find you for the next year, I think, with some human design retreat and kind of spiritual counseling, guidance.
We've already had people, because they couldn't come to this one, asked to do something soon. So
it will be on your website online for the next years, right?
Yeah.
Here in Manchester, California. What's your website for the people who watch us?
Right now it's humandesignlifecoaching.com.
Okay.
And when you get there, you can fill out that form to be able to get your own human design chart.
Awesome.
That's how you can enter into my domain
Cool.
of all the things that I offer, my articles.
So this is how they
videos.
can contact you. What's your email address in case if people want to?
I would like to invite you to write me at my personal address, which is Laveena, Laveena, Lovick, Lovick @gmail.com.
Awesome. I will put all the details, guys, on the bottom in the description link of the video, so you can find her website, the email address, and everything. Amazing. Would you like to end with a specific word or something you want to share?
Well, I just want to say it's been my pleasure to get to know you over this year, Ben. You're
Thank you.
such a light in the world.
Oh, thank
and I
you.
really honor and appreciate all your gifts, your talents, your ability to radiate this being of who you are. It's truly magnificent to see how in the flow of life, how in tune and connected you are with nature. To be able to see you yesterday in Mount Shasta, singing, playing the flute, connecting with the earth. I mean, it was just magnificent. And I feel very honored to be in your presence, to be recognized by you, because, you know, the way that we as projector and generator are here to live in the world is to be in partnership with each other. We need each other. We're designed to be interdependent. And I can't say how honored I am that someone like you would come to me and want my guidance. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much. It means a lot for me. Thank you. Thank you very much for this interview. It was really amazing. I hope, guys, you enjoy it. Please leave a comment below. Feel free to share this video. Feel free to subscribe to the YouTube channel. And remember, if you want to find Laveena, you have all the details. I really recommend you guys to have a reading, because human design is such an amazing thing.
It's a great tool.
Yeah. Thank you. Take care. Bye.
Bye.